Take a minute. Do you have a family member or a friend that has ever been convicted of a DUI or potentially is going through that process? I know that I have some family members that have been convicted of DUI, and it's very difficult, and it's very important that we understand the process so that, God forbid, we never have that go through, and we know some key steps to being able to avoid being convicted of a DUI. And perhaps we'll talk about it today, how to deal with the police officer that's pulled you over on the side of the road after you've had a few glasses of wine. We're really, really lucky here to have Doug Ridley of Ridley Defense.
Thank you.
He's one of the top criminal defense attorneys in all of California, and thank you so much for making time for us. It really, really means a lot. By the end of today's video, we're going to talk about some concrete steps that you can take to be able to avoid, hopefully, a DUI conviction. All right? You
Sounds
promise?
great.
All right. Awesome.
I don't promise. We're lawyers. We can't promise anything.
You got to promise.
Legal disclaimer.
Yeah.
Legal disclaimer. This won't work in all situations. This won't work in your situation. There we go. I think my insurance coverage is going to be.
Oh,
cleared
good.
out.
All right. Well, I'm glad we have that part.
I had a smart insurance attorney that told me how to do that.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I'm smart now, too.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Anyway, so before we get to DUI Jail Time, which is actually the title of this video, and the reason we titled this is because actually there's a lot of questions about it. In certain counties in California, at least, and you could talk to other states too if you want, you actually get mandatory jail time if you're convicted of DUI, and then in some states, like I believe LA County, you don't. So we were going to talk about in detail that part, but before we get there, let's talk a little bit about your background.
Sure.
Did you always want to be a criminal defense attorney?
No.
No. What did you want to be?
Definitely not. I mean, I started out my career as a deputy district attorney.
Yeah.
So I was putting the bad guys in jail, and that was my pride, and I really enjoyed doing that. I worked in the DA's office in Ventura County for 5 years, and the last 3 years that I was there, I worked in the Special Victims Unit, doing really awful, horrible, but really good work, stuff that I was really proud of, putting child molesters in prison for life, and it was a really good, it felt really good, but as a first responder, I was there listening to all those reports all the time, and just after 3 years, it just really got on me, and I decided that I needed to make a break and go into private practice. So
now, you went into private practice, but you still hear those stories, right? I mean, you're defending people.
Yes, but it's not everything that I do all day, every day.
Okay.
And what I've been able to find in my practice that I was surprised about is that I can actually still be a criminal defense attorney and work with good people who are, people that we would do business with.
Made a mistake.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I didn't think that when I was a prosecutor. I didn't think that I could have an entire practice made up of, every once in a while I represent a bad guy. You know who you are. But generally I have a very, very nice, respectable clientele who had a bad day, or their kid had a bad day, or Uncle John had a bad day, and away we go.
Yeah. Now, one of the things I was going to ask you about was us lawyers, sometimes we have the ability to kind of distinguish ourselves from the problems of our clients. We have this ability to be empathetic to them, but at the same time, when we go home with our daughters or our sons and be able to enjoy our time, it's even more hard, I believe, if you're a criminal defense attorney or DA. I mean, how do you go to a situation where there's some horrible thing that occurs that you got to get into detail about, and then go home and play Star Wars or something with your sons or daughters?
Well, really, I think you hit the nail on the head.
Okay.
The first thing is I get a hug from them, and I walk in the door, and that helps me reset and recalibrate.
Okay.
Also, because I do a wide range of different types of cases, not that the DUI client doesn't have a problem that is arguably the most serious problem they've ever had in the course of their lives.
Yeah.
But when I'm dealing with, in the morning, a guy who has been a fugitive for 20 years and is looking at multiple life in prison charges, and then in the afternoon I have to counsel somebody through whether they have to do picking up trash or be on an electronic monitoring bracelet for a week, it's easy to keep also that in perspective.
Okay, awesome. All right, well, it's good to talk about that, but we need to get to the subject matter that we're here to discuss today. DUIs are one of those crimes, where all of us good people could experience it in our life sometime, because we do our best to not drink and drive, but things happen, mistakes happen, emergencies happen. So I guess the first step is, what is a DUI? What is the crime?
Well, the crime is driving while being under the influence.
Okay.
And then there are a bunch of other ways that you can also get there.
Okay.
One is being over 0.08. A lot of people think that if they're under 0.08, then they're home free.
Yeah.
And that's not really the
That's
case.
not the case, huh?
Because if you're under the influence, you're somebody who can't handle their liquor, really. I mean, they might be impaired. Somebody who practices every day and doesn't have a problem handling their liquor may be okay to drive at a 0.09, 0.10.
I see.
But technically, they're over that chemical line,
Okay.
and so scientifically, they're guilty. Then they've added new charges for being under the influence of prescription medication, being under the influence of illegal drugs, or being under the influence of drugs and alcohol, or both.
Yeah.
And just to make it a little bit more complicated.
Yeah.
But it really boils down to being impaired.
Yes.
Or being over 0.08.
Okay, and that impairment can come accidentally sometimes. Sometimes a doctor tells someone to take some prescription medication, and they do, and then they drive. They can be convicted of a DUI. Is that
Absolutely.
correct? Oh, wow.
Any of the prescription bottles that say do not operate heavy machinery, as it turns out, your car is a piece of heavy machinery, so you can't go out after having your Vicodin and muscle relaxers post-surgery and get in the car.
Yeah.
You just can't do that.
Yeah. While we have a moment, this isn't the focus of the video, but in California, we just recently had a law that went into effect that marijuana is legal for personal use.
Yes.
And I know you get this question a lot, and
Yep.
I know you have a fairly quick answer to it, but obviously you can be high and be convicted of a DUI, right?
No question about it.
Okay.
In 1999, one of my first trials as a baby prosecutor was I convicted a guy for being .04 and having weed.
Oh, wow.
Because I had a CHP officer who was really smart, who was able to talk to the jury about all of the things that marijuana does. It calms you down, it reduces your inhibitions, it just mellows you out.
Yeah.
And then you add a little bit of alcohol, or you're just really high
Yeah.
and you can't concentrate and operate a motor vehicle at the same
Okay.
time. So with the new law, CHP was getting geared up and ready to have all of these new marijuana cases.
Yeah.
I've seen that many. Zero. I've seen absolutely nothing into my office on marijuana-related DUIs, and we're known as a law firm that does a lot of DUI cases. So either that means that they're not prosecuting very many, or people don't want to hire a guy like Doug for a marijuana DUI, which I can't imagine. But, but it could be that we're not getting the calls. But I really believe that it has not made as big of an impact on our society as people thought they did. In January, I had people ask me to come out and talk about, let's talk about the new marijuana law. Oh, marijuana laws, let's talk about it. And nothing.
Wow.
I mean, literally, we've had no dollars into my law firm because of it. Absolutely nothing.
Well,
So,
the other point is it? Do you think it's that marijuana made it not impair a lot of people? I mean, it sounds crazy to say that, but
I don't know this from scientists,
Yeah.
but my sense is that people who get really, really high are more likely to sit on their couch and do nothing
I see. They're not driving.
rather than wanting to go out and get on the road and do stuff. I think where you're going to see the problem is, like you mentioned before, the emergency situation.
Yes.
I just smoked out, I'm about to watch my movie, and I got to go pick up Aunt May from the laundromat.
Aunt May from the laundromat.
Right?
Very good
We're going to
analogy.
use Aunt May from the laundromat moving forward. She's going to do a lot of things today in our hypotheticals.
Well, we're going to start talking now about something that I think all of us face if we consume alcohol at any regular basis, and that is we have a local place called Stonehouse. And you've had a couple glasses of wine, you had the best time of your life, and you feel great.
Yeah.
You feel like you could, attack the world. So you jump in your car, you turn it on, and you drive home. Maybe it's a short distance too.
Right.
And all of a sudden, woo! You see lights behind you.
That's a sign of a police car.
That's a sign of a police car.
Yeah, got it. Totally.
I'm a big howling monkey guy. I don't know if you noticed that. You've seen me in action.
Yeah, I have.
Woo! But anyway, so what the heck do people out there who are watching, the thousands, what do they do when they're pulled over?
There's no one right answer.
Okay.
Unfortunately, the best advice that I can give someone in that situation is not to have driven in the first place.
Okay.
And we actually have seen statewide a drop in DUI cases because of the rise of Uber and Lyft. And that is a good thing.
Yeah, it is good.
And thankfully, I do other types of law as well, so it doesn't impact me as much as it does. I have friends who that's all they did was DUI cases, and they're having to readjust their law practice at this point. But what the best thing is to do, number one, is to shut up and be polite.
Okay.
First of all, you don't have to answer tons of questions. Every one of us has seen a cop show or a lawyer show where they've advised that you have a right to remain silent. That does come into play in a DUI case as well. You don't have to answer a bunch of questions.
Yeah.
However, you have to be polite.
Yes.
Well, you don't have to. I have clients who decided not to be polite. They ended up getting handcuffs, and they got to really get close to the hood of the front of the police car with their face. And, I mean, police will give back what they get from you exponentially. So if you give them a bad attitude, and
they're going to give it to you.
Exactly.
Oh, boy.
Exactly. And they don't know, in all fairness to them, they don't know if your bad attitude is because you're hiding a gun underneath your seat, or you are about to go off on an LSD rage all over them, or if it's just that you've had a bad day too. People have to realize that police officers are humans, and they may have just come back from a case where they had to deal with a fatality traffic accident with a toddler. They could have had to, or they could have just had a bad day themselves. So number one thing is when you're dealing with law enforcement, be polite.
Shut up.
Actually, the business manager of my practice has a philosophy that the first things that come out of his mouth is, my family and I appreciate you so much. We just appreciate, and he gets out of more tickets than I do. Wow. So,
he's a good talker.
He is a good talker. I'm a good talker too.
You are a very good talker.
I guess the snicker, as I say, we really appreciate everything you do. But you don't have to answer all their questions. Now, every once in a while, there makes rounds through Facebook. The sign. They roll up their window and I'm upholding my constitutional rights, and therefore you shouldn't arrest me, and I'm going to be quiet. And I'm not going to roll down my window. So they have an absolute right to get your identification to make sure you didn't just rob that liquor store up the street. So that note. What'll happen is they will extract the note from the car with you attached to it, whether the window's open or not. As it turns out, the police can open your window, whether you push the button or roll the crank, however old of a car you have. They can open the window, and they have tools in their belt that can just get the window open really, really easily.
Oh, wow.
So that's not to say that would happen, but the key is rolling down your window, being respectful, understanding that you are about to go through something that you really can't control. Because at that point, you can't control whether you had a glass of wine too many or not. What you can do is shut up. And that really is important. And sorry to be so flip, but shut up. But because so many people just start answering all the questions, and you don't really have to do that.
Talk their way out of it.
Exactly. One of the questions that they ask is, you smell like alcohol. By the way, you can't change that. Gum doesn't mask the odor of alcohol.
Coffee beans?
No, I don't know what you did there, but I don't think that'll change it either. The introduction of another chemical doesn't eliminate another chemical.
I see.
It just doesn't do that. And cops are trained to smell the odor of alcohol through your gum, through your peanut butter. I'm trying to think of some of the other ones that people swear works all the time.
Wow.
But it just doesn't. And so you want to have your hands on the steering wheel. You want to be calm, and you're not going to be able to because you're drunk and because you're scared. You're scared. But hands on the steering wheel, calm, and just, I appreciate the work you're doing. I'm going to exercise my right not to answer any of your questions. And we can proceed from there.
Now, one of the questions we just got on the chat was someone was told that you never have to submit to a field sobriety test, or you never have to submit to a breathalyzer.
And see,
tell me about that.
This kills me because it's not clear enough. And we get a lot of people into my office who have heard that advice on the radio, on the TV, through advertisements. And so no, I want my lawyer, and I'm not going to blow in the test, and I'm not going to give you my blood, and I'm not going to do all those things. The fine print, as you applied for your driver's license, says on the bottom that if you're ever arrested for a DUI, you have to give a breath or a blood test on request from a police officer. And if you don't, whether you're guilty of the DUI or not, you're not driving for a year. And there's nothing that I can do about that unless they didn't follow the proper procedure. So, and then the best part is out here in Ventura County, they have electronic warrants. So what they can do is they say, okay, Ian, so understand you're going to follow that bad advice that you heard on the radio. You're not going to, and you're sure, right? You understand you're going to lose your license. No, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So then they call up Judgy, and they say, hey, Judgy, I really want a warrant for Ian's blood. And Judgy says, oh, you woke me up at 2 a.m. I'm so pissed. Absolutely, I'm going to give you the warrant for Ian's blood. So now you're not going to drive for a year. They're going to get a search warrant to take your blood.
Yeah.
And then they're going to take you to the hospital and extract the blood, whether you give consent or not.
They'll strap you down?
Absolutely. They'll strap your ass down and take the blood. They have to do it in a medically humane manner.
Wow.
That's the constitutional standard. Medically humane.
Okay.
So, they're not going to pull you on the side of the road and jam a needle in your arm. It has to be
But it could be
by a nurse.
forcible.
Absolutely, it's forcible. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Usually at that point they say, this is going in your arm and this is going to hurt you a whole lot more if you don't stay still.
Okay.
But that can happen, and it absolutely happens. So then they find out that you're 0.12 blood alcohol level, and you refused. So the punishment gets exponentially worse, and you're not driving. So
a lot of good news in today's broadcast of Heart of the Matter. Anyway, let's move on to talking about what you just said, which was, gosh, you've been arrested.
Yeah.
Okay, you've been pulled over, you've been drinking, and you've been arrested, and you're taken down to the station. Is there any, we always talk about like when you've been pulled over, but what about, is there anything you can do when you're in jail or in the process to be able to aid you in your defense of the DUI?
Well, there's a couple of things.
Okay.
First is, again, doing your best to be calm and respectful with the people that are around you, because that can add additional charges for delaying or obstructing the police.
Okay.
Also, you're more likely to get out of custody faster if you're being cooperative and being nice with people. That doesn't mean talking.
Yeah.
It just means not being disrespectful. Typically on DUI cases, unless there's something really special going on, you'll get out sometime the next morning.
Okay.
So there's not really a need to call a bail bondsman unless there's something special going on, like someone got hurt or you've had a lot of priors or something along those lines.
Okay.
But besides that, it's really important to call an attorney that next week, because if you don't demand a DMV hearing within 10 days of the date of your arrest, then you're losing your license and we don't even have a chance to challenge it.
Okay. All right. So one of the best pieces of advice if you are arrested is that first call should be to a criminal defense attorney like yourself.
It should be.
All right. So you can request that DMV hearing and you can get the process going. Maybe use some of your connections in the DA's office to maybe assist in the prosecution.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're running out of time here. I guess we got about 2 minutes. Doug, thank you so much for making time for us. I really, really appreciate it.
Love being here. No problem.
And I love talking DUIs with you because hopefully I'll never get one, but I like talking about you. And so anyway, Doug, if the viewers have more questions for you in the future, how do they contact you? Where do they go?
2 ways. You can go to the website at ridleydefense.com, RIDLEY defense.com, or you can call into the office, 805-208-0710. And those phones are almost always answered, just about 24/7. So
awesome.
Even when I'm not around, there's somebody there
Maybe
to make
Brian.
sure they take the call.
Well, anyway, we also put Doug's links in the comments below. It's your Twitter,
Thank you.
Your website, your phone number, everything like that. So yeah, if you have any questions for Doug about DUIs, about other crimes, please feel free to give him a call. I know that he wants to help you with that. And additionally, if you have questions about this session at all, please include them in the comments section below, and we'll answer those questions in combination with each other. And as we always say, you're going to start doing it too. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. And if you want to watch more Heart of the Matter videos, every Wednesday at 1:30 I publish a new Heart of the Matter video. Just subscribe and hit the bell button, you'll be notified. So thank you so much, Doug, for your time today. And we are out on the Heart of the Matter.
Thank you.
Thank you.